Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, recording has started.
Okay. Today is March 21st, 2024. We're here for Sean Alfortish on a hearing. I'm going to name the people present. Name the people present. State your name and say how you are licensed. My name is Larry Fontenot Jr., State Steward. Terry Terrian, State Steward. Jeff Waxler, State Steward.
Elizabeth Garcia, state investigator.
Richard Bustamante, in-house attorney for the State of New Mexico Racing Commission.
Mr. Sean,
Sean Alfortish.
how are you licensed, please?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm
Al-
owner trainer. Owner
Okay,
trainer.
thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, all the people that's going to be given oath, I want to swear you in. Please raise your right hand, and we'll do it on the honor system. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I know I do.
I do.
Okay, Richard?
Yes, sir. I
All right,
do.
thank you. All right, I want to verify, Mr. Alfortish, so have you been verified that the proper notice was given?
I've objected to the notice. I've objected to it in writing. Mr. Bustamante and I disagree on that, but that is documented in emails.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bustamante, do you verify that proper notice was given?
Good morning, stewards, Mr. Alfortish. Yes, Steward Fontenot, basically I call the steward's attention to NMRC exhibit number 1. That is the notice of today's hearing. And pursuant to the requirements in Rule 15.2.1.94A, the notice basically does provide the date, time, and place for this hearing. It basically does advise Mr. Alfortish that the purpose of the hearing is to address serious concerns about his prior criminal history related to horse racing, specifically his federal court felony conviction in the Eastern District of Louisiana. And within the notice of hearing, it contains basically all of the authority with respect to the steward's authority for this matter, as well as what potential penalties Mr. Alfortish might face regarding his licensing. So at this point, if appropriate, stewards, I would respectfully move for the admission of NMRC Exhibit 1.
Hold on, Richard, I got some more stuff to state before we start.
My apologies.
Okay. I want to explain that this hearing is quasi-judicial in nature. We are not bound by the technical rules or procedure and evidence. And I want to state one of the rules that's in the book. Due process and disciplinary action is 15.2.1.9. Number 11, behavior. Small a, each party, witness, attorney, or other representative shall behave in all commission proceedings with dignity, courtesy, and respect for the commission, the presiding officer, and all other parties and attorneys shall observe and practice the standards of ethical behavior prescribed by the professional by the code of the professional responsibility. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Now I will turn this over to Mr. Bustamante, and you can go ahead and state your nature of your hearing.
And just a quick FYI, guys, I have the screen has the exhibits on for your guys' record as well.
Yeah. Okay. And plus, I just now received a copy of it all. So, all right.
Okay. All right. My apologies, stewards, and thank you, Steward Fontenot, for the opportunity and for that important initial information. Basically, I do want to also acknowledge that the notice of hearing, which the commission submits, complies with all of the notice requirements contained in the rule, was in fact sent to Mr. Alfortish by regular mail, certified mail, as well as emailed to his last known address, basically. Essentially, based on what I stated earlier regarding the components of the notice of hearing, I would respectfully move for the admission of NMRC Exhibit 1.
And Larry, if I may object to that and respond in two manners. Number one, I have never been defined what serious concerns means. That is a vague, overbroad definition to even understand the concept of this hearing as to what it is. Number two, as Mr. Bustamante has alluded to, this was sent certified and regular mail to my last address. I've never received a certified mail from it, and the regular mail I received was within 10 days of the notice of this hearing. So with those caveats in place, and if you have something to the contrary, where I've signed for a certified mail, I would call for the production of that to show the stewards that. Otherwise, I would maintain my objection as to notice and due process in this hearing.
Okay, just give us a minute, please. I'm on mute.
And if I could respond, Stuart Fontenot?
Go ahead.
Okay. Stuart Fontenot basically is again, it was sent by regular and certified mail. Just for the record, we have not received a signed receipt regarding that certified mail. We did send it to Mr. Alfortish's last or address of record with the commission, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana. Stewards, as you well know, participating in the horse racing industry is a nomadic profession, and therefore basically it behooves anybody who's traveling for their profession to ensure that somebody responsible is checking their mail and providing them timely information about what mail has been received. Basically, I also want to call to the attention of the stewards the case of Flemma versus Halliburton Energy Services, 2012 New Mexico Court of Appeals 009, which states basically, although we recognize the general presumption that materials mailed to a correct address have been received, basically we decline to apply that presumption in the context of an at-will employment contract. So there is case on New Mexico saying that the presumption is that a correctly addressed letter basically is presumed to have been received. In addition, given that Mr. Alfortish contacted us by email with respect to the first notice as well as this second notice, the commission's position is that he received the notice in a timely fashion pursuant to the rule. Thank you, sir.
And in response to Mr. Bustamante's discussion and argument, number one, I have no issue with the address that it's sent to. That is the address I'm staying as I'm racing at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. I am at the 84 North Rent address. Number two, the letter was mailed out on March 11th, 2024. And unless it got there same day, I would take note of today's date of this hearing, that it is exactly 10 days from the date that the letter was mailed out, not 10 days served upon me, which is what the rule calls for. Hence the reason, once again, despite any of the jurisprudence that is out there that Mr. Bustamante has alluded to, which I have not seen, nor was provided to me in advance of anything, I did not get 10-day notice for this hearing as per NMAC.
Okay, thank you. We were going to take a little break for a second. I'm on mute.
If I could also ask, I have one of my associates outside who is to come in and record the meeting as well for me. The door's locked. Is that possible? Her name is Joy. That she could be brought into the room, the steward's room?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm on mute for a minute. I have to talk to the other stewards.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sorry about that. Mr. Fortress, we took that under advisement and everything. Basically, we were going back to the very first time that you got served and on 2/28. That's when you asked for continuance. So when you got this other one, that was just stating the time of the hearing was going to happen. So, Mr. Bustamante, you could go on with your case.
All right. Thank you, Stuart Fontenot. And gentlemen, first let me start off by basically detailing the authority by which you are here reviewing this matter. Pursuant to NMAC Rule 16.47.1.8L1, the New Mexico Racing Commission may suspend or revoke an issued license or order disciplinary measures in response to a licensee's background, character, or reputation. Rule 15.2.3.8B1D provides that when stewards find violations of regulations or statutory horse racing act, the licensee shall be subject to disciplinary action, which could include a fine, suspension, revocation, or denial of a license. Furthermore, honorable stewards, a license issued by the New Mexico Racing Commission is a privilege. It's not a vested right. However, licensees are entitled to due process of law, and therefore Mr. Alfortish has been provided with a proper notice of hearing in accordance with the rules, and we are here at the hearing today where he'll have the full opportunity to present his case. And the licensing is a privilege, not a right. That can be found in Sanderson versus New Mexico Racing Commission, 1969, New Mexico Supreme Court, page 31, paragraph 7, and the Steinbaugh versus New Mexico Racing Commission, 2015, New Mexico Court of Appeals. That's an unpublished opinion. Basically, furthermore, according to NMAC Rule 15.2.3.8B3F, stewards may order a person be ineligible for licensing, or they may deny a license on grounds set forth in the rules. So with that authority laid out regarding your authority to review this matter, deliberate, and render a decision, I now call the stewards and Mr. Alfortish's attention to NMRC Exhibit 2. And just to backtrack a little.
Hold on a second. I want to put in the first notice of hearing. That's going to be Exhibit number 1 and what all you just stated.
All right. Thank you, sir. My
That'll be
apologies.
Exhibit number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And as I referenced earlier, the notice of hearing basically does refer to concerns about him holding a license, Mr. Alfortish, regarding his prior criminal history relating to horse racing, specifically his federal court felony conviction in the Eastern District of Louisiana, criminal docket number 10-328. I bring to the stewards and Mr. Alfortish's attention a New Mexico Racing Commission Exhibit 2. And just to let everybody know, Exhibits 2, 3, and 4 were obtained directly from the Eastern District of Louisiana Federal Court. The federal court certified each exhibit, and so therefore I did not pull these from the internet. I got them directly from the court. And because they are certified by the court under New Mexico rules of evidence, they are exceptions to the hearsay rule because basically they are certified court documents that provide a record as to what occurred in this case. So turning to New Mexico Racing Commission Exhibit 2, you'll see it there on the screen. That is basically a requirement by law that the U.S. attorneys advise the court assigned to Mr. Alfortish's case, basically advising them about the status of the case and basically that they're going to be resolving it by a plea. I call your attention to on page 1, the highlighted portion, defendant, referring to Mr. Alfortish, fully understands the term of this agreement. Page 2, highlighted, defendant be placed on a term of supervised release after imprisonment. So basically, the purpose for this exhibit is just to further provide a record leading up to the other exhibits, which I'll be introducing. But again, the U.S. attorneys met the requirement to advise the federal court about how Mr. Alfortish's indictment would be resolved. I respectfully move for the admission of NMRC Exhibit 2.
We'll make that number 2.
Thank you. Turning now to New Mexico RC Exhibit 3. Once again, a certified court document directly from the federal court. This is the factual basis for the plea agreement. And this is a very critical document. Stewards, I know that in the past you deal with, and investigators as well, deal with matters of prior convictions, background checks that basically where you uncover warrants, or that the individual licensee or applicant is still under probation or parole and things of that nature. So, but this is of significant concern here. And as you review the factual basis, let me highlight some of the aspects of the case that was brought against Mr. Alfortish by the U.S. Attorney's Office and to which he pled guilty. Basically, as set forth in the factual basis, Mr. Alfortish was the president of the Louisiana Horsemen's Benevolent Protective Association from 2005 until indicted in 2010. The board of directors of that organization at one point challenged Mr. Alfortish's management of the finances of that organization. Mr. Alfortish and his co-conspirators conspired to rig the outcome of the organization's election by mailing false ballots from other states, using interstate wires for airline reservations, for co-conspirators' travel, and for fund transfers for such airline tickets. And he also transferred and possessed and used other persons' social security numbers in connection with this conspiracy. This also involved the misuse of the Louisiana Horsemen's credit card for carrying out this massive interstate fraud. And lo and behold, the vast majority of ballots received in the election were fraudulent. The fraudulent results.
Hold on, Mr. Bustamante. Either you're going to read and turn in your own version of what you're reading, or read straight from it. Stop. I would appreciate if you stop trying to add your interjection and adjectives to try to highlight your feelings, because I can assure you, once I figure out what serious concerns is, those adjectives are going to drop off really quick. So either you want to read your highlighted section or let the stewards read it, or you can give your own Shakespearean soliloquy about all of this information. So please pick and choose for me.
Stewards, obviously, I'll let you determine whether I can proceed in the manner I'm doing.
You can proceed if you would. Just read what you have highlighted and everything.
All right. Thank
and then
you.
Then you can just add other stuff on your closing arguments.
Okay. All right. Okay. And again, I am basically reading. This is all derived from the factual basis for the plea. So basically, what ended up happening is that the factual basis of the plea sets forth that this was a systematic diversion of funds from the Louisiana Horsemen's organization that were actually legislatively dedicated to medical benefits, the Benefits Trust, but unfortunately it was used for the conspiracy. In 2008, $83,000 of the medical benefits were spent on the national convention. And so essentially I move for the introduction of NMRC Exhibit 3, the factual basis for the plea.
Okay, number 3.
All right. Thank you, Stuart Fontenot. Calling everybody's attention to NMRC Exhibit 4. This is again a certified document from the Federal Court of the Eastern District of Louisiana, and this is a judgment in a criminal case. Referring to the highlighted sections, defendant, Mr. Alfortish, pleaded guilty to the counts of the indictment on August 31st, 2011. The nature of the offenses are conspiracy to commit wire fraud, healthcare fraud, and fraud in connection with identification documents referring to Social Security numbers. On page 2, gentlemen, you'll see, quote, the defendant is hereby committed to the custody of the United States Bureau of Prisons to be imprisoned for a term of 46 months as to count 1 for a total term of 46 months. Referring to page 5. Mr. Alfortish was assessed a monetary penalty in the amount of $105,000, $140, and 94 cents. So over 6 figures, and basically to be paid to the Louisiana Horsemen's Association. And then on the page 6, again highlighted, quote, it is ordered that the defendant pay restitution to the Louisiana HBPA in the amount of $105,140.94 to begin while defendant is incarcerated. I respectfully move for the admission of New Mexico RC Exhibit 4.
Number 4.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, basically that concludes the exhibits that we're going to introduce in this matter. And again, they are all certified from the federal court and therefore exceptions to the hearsay rule. In addition to the authority I stated earlier, Honorable Stewards, I call your attention to NMAC Rule 16.47.1.8 L1. The Commission may suspend or revoke a license issued if the applicant A has been convicted of a felony, subsection E has been found in violation of rules governing racing in the state or other jurisdictions, subsection I is a person whose conduct or reputation may adversely reflect on the honesty and integrity of horse racing, and O has engaged in conduct unbecoming or detrimental to the best interests of racing. Now, Honorable Stewards, as you know, you see the date of that conviction, and it is older than 10 years old. But the bottom line is that there is absolutely nothing in the administrative rules or the Statutory Horse Racing Act which prohibits the Commission from considering convictions that are older than 10 years old. As you know, Honorable Stewards, every single case that presented before you is different and unique with its own set of facts. So although Mr. Alfortish may basically want to rely on how other cases were handled regarding other licensees or applicants with criminal convictions, every single case is different based on its own set of facts. And so basically, Mr. Alfortish stated earlier about, well, what are the concerns here? Well, respectfully, I submit that if you look at those documents, the concerns are rather obvious. This conviction and the scope of it is simply mind-boggling to me as an attorney. It involves.
I'm going to object to his
Hold on.
His version.
Oh, Richard, is this your closing statement? Are you making your
Yes,
closing
I apologize. It is
Okay,
closing.
let's not do your closing statement. If you're done presenting your evidence and everything, it's Mr. Alfortish's turn to do it if you're done.
My apologies.
Are you done?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's let Mr. Sean do his, and then we'll go to our closing arguments.
All right. My apologies, gentlemen.
Okay. Well, thank you, stewards, and I appreciate your time here this morning. Again, I note my objection that I am still confused over the term serious concerns. I'm not even sure who I'm cross-examining or who is presenting this. All I've gotten is Mr. Bustamante from the Racing Commission prosecuting a case in front of the stewards, which in and of itself, as he said, seems sort of unique. I'm going to first ask a question, and I'm not sure who this is related to, so I believe it probably goes to Ms. Garcia, since she's on the phone as the investigator, if I could make sure she's not muted. Ms. Garcia, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. A question for you. You did the investigation into this particular matter on behalf of the New Mexico Racing Commission?
No.
And Stuart Fontenot, if I can just interject, and I apologize if I didn't, perhaps should have stated this earlier. Actually, Arthur Pierre, who was a former investigator with the commission, who left the commission for family matters, basically Mr. Pierre is the one who basically did the background or the investigation on this matter. And then when he left, it was turned over to me. Investigator Garcia is basically here assisting just in terms of the documentary evidence.
Okay. Well, stewards, I would call that is a surprise to me. I was not told Arthur Pierre did the background investigation. I understood it to come from Ms. Garcia. So since Mr. Bustamante has information on this, I'll gear my question to him. Mr. Bustamante, when did Mr. Pierre do the background or begin his background investigation into me?
I want to say it was sometime maybe like mid to late summer of last year.
Last year, 2023, correct?
Correct.
And during the course of that investigation, what did it entail for him to investigate about me at that time?
Essentially, my understanding is that as we all know, the horse racing community is a rather connected community, both online as well as in person. And so word started traveling among the New Mexico racing community about Mr. Alfortish's background. Mr. Pierre then basically, my understanding is he conducted basically essentially internet searches to find out information about the background. And lo and behold, that led to essentially discovering or looking closer into the federal conviction.
So you're telling me that Mr. Pierre started looking into my background in the summer of 2023, and it then took 9 months for you to contact the Eastern District Court of Louisiana to obtain the information you've just put in as an exhibit today, correct?
Essentially, the reason for the delay is we were attempting to get the back. Mr. Alfortish had relied on reciprocity from Oklahoma to get his license in New Mexico. Mr. Pierre, I believe, reached out to the Oklahoma Racing Commission, as well as did I, to see if we could get a copy of that background check. Let's just say that it took several emails. Apparently, they've had a lot of turnover there. The bottom line is that we did not receive the copy of the background check from Oklahoma, and it was unclear whether it had already been destroyed, or I can't say as to why we didn't get it.
Okay, so you said you relied upon Oklahoma for reciprocity. Isn't it a fact that Oklahoma is who I relied upon for reciprocity for my fingerprint cards?
I believe I did state that you had relied on reciprocity from Oklahoma.
For fingerprint cards, correct? Because New Mexico does not recognize fingerprint cards from states such as Louisiana, Kentucky, Arkansas, or Texas, correct?
I don't know. I don't know whether that's the case, but bottom line is that given that you had relied on Oklahoma, we wanted to see that background check.
Okay, and when you did finally receive that background check from Oklahoma, it's a fact, is it not, that I disclosed this felony conviction to Oklahoma on my background, correct?
To clarify, sir, we never received the background check from Oklahoma.
You've never received, and you have a copy of all the emails between Oklahoma and yourself in your possession at the Racing Commission, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Have you also had an ARCI check upon me?
I believe that Mr. Pierre did do like a comprehensive rulings check.
And did he not find in that rulings check that I was licensed in Louisiana?
I don't know that, sir.
Do you
And
know
that's
if
not
I
in
am
evidence.
well, okay, well, let's put it in evidence. Do you know whether or not that I am a licensed owner and trainer in the state of Louisiana, the very state where this conviction occurred?
I don't know that, sir. And quite frankly, I would submit that that's irrelevant to the hearing here today.
Thank you for your comment. So you don't know if I'm licensed in Louisiana. Do you know if I'm licensed in the state of Arkansas and also disclosed this felony conviction and currently in good standing in Louisiana and Arkansas?
I don't know that. And again,
Do,
respectfully, that's irrelevant to the matter at hand.
thank you for your objection. And continuing on, do you know that I am licensed in the state of Kentucky and in good standing and have also disclosed this felony conviction to the state of Kentucky?
I do not know that. And again, respectfully, that is irrelevant to the whether you should retain your New Mexico Racing Commission license.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bustamante. Are you making the calls here today, or is this the stewards? Is this a hearing before the stewards, or is it a hearing before you? Because I'm confused now. You seem to be dictating the outcome of this. Could you help me out with that? Is this your hearing, or is this the steward's hearing?
Sir,
I'm gonna
I'm making
interject
the
right-
record.
hold on
The
a second, I'm
stewards
gonna
will
interject right
determine
here.
the admissibility.
Richard,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Richard, I'm going to interject right here. With the matters that he's talking about, Pierre is gone now, and this is for the license here in New Mexico. So
It is.
we're going to stay
Stewart.
with New Mexico, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
You may
Uh,
go on, Mr. Sean.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fontenot. Mr. Bustamante, are you also aware that I am licensed in the state of Texas and had disclosed to the state of Texas this felony conviction as well?
I do not know that offhand, and I make the same statement that respectfully I submit that's irrelevant to this hearing.
Okay. And Mr. Fontenot, I'm sorry, Mr. Bustamante, are you aware that I have never had a ruling against me under ARCI in the history of my licensing as an owner or a trainer?
I do not know that, sir. And again, your comprehensive record has not been made part of the exhibits here.
Okay. Mr. Fontenot, can I ask if the stewards have a copy of my ARCI report?
No, we do not.
Okay. And no investigator, Mr. Bustamante, ever bothered to run a copy of my ARCI, correct?
Mr. Alfortish, I believe I testified earlier that I believe former investigator Arthur Pierre had ran a comprehensive ruling, and I see on the screen that Investigator Garcia has put your comprehensive ruling report on the screen.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, if you have access to that right now, can you tell me if I've ever had a ruling under ARCI?
No.
No.
Mr.
And
Sean, are you wanting to put this in evidence on your part?
We can, as long as everybody agrees that it is a
Yes,
certified copy under ARCI, which
Do you agree?
probably is.
Yeah, we agree. So we'll put that as number.
I can do Exhibit A since I'm the other
Okay,
side.
that'll work. We'll do that
Okay,
as
thank
A.
you. Exhibit A. And in that ARCI report, when does it state that I was licensed originally?
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Here's his licensing history from where you were licensed.
Originally, I believe it was 1996, but I could be wrong.
I see. Let's see. Oh, that's rolling. It looks like 1998. Hold on. Give me 1 second. 1998 in Texas.
98 in Texas. That was the first time? Okay. Well, maybe it was.
Well, that's what's shown here.
I got you. Okay. So at least since 1998. I believe Louisiana was 96, but okay. At least your report shows it from at least 98. Okay. Thank you. Now, according to the notice here I received, well, first of all, I think it's relevant, the timing of this. First of all, the letter that was addressed to me signed by Mr. Bustamante and Ms. Garcia, that is in evidence as exhibit number, apologize, let me go back. That is in exhibit number 1. There was a second letter prior to that that was addressed on February 26, 2024. Is that correct, Mr. Bustamante?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And on that letter of February 26, 2024, that's when originally it was stated that there were serious concerns about my felony conviction. Is that a fact?
That's not in evidence, but that is correct.
Okay. I don't have it with me, but I have it here in my hand. I would also like to offer, file, and introduce into evidence what we'll mark as B. And probably, Ms. Garcia, I believe you would have a copy of this as well. The February 26, 2024 letter from the New Mexico Racing Commission to me. Do you have that as well?
It should be in your file. Mr. Bustamante, I believe, has that one.
Okay. I would ask that that be introduced as Exhibit B to these proceedings. Stewart, any objection?
I'm sorry. We can make that number, letter B.
Letter B. Thank you. Okay. Now, Mr. Bustamante, you said earlier your concerns regard the exhibits that you placed into evidence about the serious concerns about my felony in Exhibit 3, Exhibit 4, correct? Which is the fact basis and the judgment in the criminal case, correct?
Certainly, they are documentary evidence that lead to the concerns of the New Mexico Racing Commission.
So based upon what you had in exhibit, I just want to make sure I understand, because again, I don't understand what serious concerns mean, so I want to make sure I get a better understanding through the course of this hearing. Your serious concerns stem from what's labeled in Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 4 that you've placed into evidence, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, and that's what you relied upon for your serious concerns, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bustamante, I'm going to ask you this. The letter that I've just, the exhibits that you have here in Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 4, you did not obtain those from the clerk of court until March 6, 2024. Is that not a fact?
I believe so. Yeah, the certified clerk's stamp is March 6th.
Right. Did you receive a copy of this before March 6, 2024?
I had seen copies off of the internet, but these certified copies were received March 6th, 2024.
So you'd seen copies of Exhibit 3 and 4 on the internet prior to March 6, 2024? Is that your testimony?
I believe that, yes, I believe that on various Google searches, yes, I believe that the factual basis, I think, had been located in internet searches. I can't recall whether the judgment Exhibit 4 was located on an internet search.
Who located those off of an internet search? Did you or did Mr. Pierre?
That would be Mr. Pierre.
And did Mr. Pierre make those part of my record or make it known to anyone that he had found that information off the internet search?
I'm assuming that he had discussions with perhaps fellow investigators, and he had brought them to my attention as well.
When did he bring those to your attention?
Sometime last year.
Last year. So you had what's marked as Exhibit 3 as of last year, correct?
I had seen a copy of it.
And did that pose a serious concern to you at that time?
Clearly.
And what investigation did you do when you had this serious concern after seeing Exhibit 3?
At that point, it was still under the control of Mr. Pierre. And as I stated earlier, Mr. Pierre, as well as myself, made efforts to get the background check from Oklahoma.
And that is the only thing that you did, was try to get the background check from Oklahoma, correct?
I thought that was a good first step.
A good first step. Were there any other steps that you took beyond that?
Well, we eventually did get certified copies of your felony conviction.
You got those on March the 6th of this year, correct?
Asked and answered, yes.
Yes, and that was actually after you sent out your February 26th letter telling me that you had serious concerns about my felony conviction, correct?
That's correct.
So your serious concerns that you had stem from records that you received days later?
Again, sir, the days later are simply certified copies from the court for use in this hearing. The copies of the factual basis that we had seen online basically matched exactly with the factual basis that has now been introduced into evidence. So the reason for reaching out to the clerk of court is simply to get certified copies for use in this hearing.
Right. So when you sent this letter out on February 26, 2024, you didn't have those certified documents concerning the issues of serious concerns, correct?
I did not have the certified copies, that's true.
Right. So you brought the charges against me before you even had the evidence that you're bringing in today, correct? That's a fact, correct?
No, that's not a fact, sir. The bottom line is that I had seen basically the factual basis for your plea. Again, sir, exhibits 2, 3, and 4 are simply certified copies, which makes them exception to the hearing of the prohibition against hearsay. And so they are basically a certification to the stewards that these, in fact, are true and accurate copies of the documents and of what they purport to say in them, because they came directly from the court rather than from some Google search.
Right. And Mr. Bustamante, you alluded at the beginning of this meeting about this hearing and how it's held. And isn't it true that hearsay documents can be used in a hearing? In a steward's hearing? That's a fact, is it not?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Sure. You alluded to in the beginning of this hearing, you were going through the rules of the hearing. And one of the rules that you went through under NMAC is the fact that hearsay evidence and hearsay discussions can be used in a hearing before the stewards because it's more of an informal type of hearing, correct?
Stuart Fontenot did basically advise everybody here that this is an administrative proceeding. Therefore, the rules of evidence don't strictly apply.
Correct.
I'm gonna cut
And
in
I
here
did basically make reference of that as well.
I'm gonna cut in here 1 second. I'm the one that said that hearsay, but he did submit on top of it the actual paperwork with it. So we could go ahead and just move on, please.
You're right. I am, Larry. I do have a point to
Okay.
it. I apologize. I'm
All right, go
trying
ahead.
to get to it. So as an attorney, how long have you been an attorney for the New Mexico Racing Commission, Mr. Bustamante?
It's coming close to 3 years.
3 years. So you are aware of the fact hearsay evidence can be used in these administrative hearings, correct?
Basically, yes.
Yes. And you could have brought these charges just based on the Google search and put those into evidence whenever you found them, as you said, sometime during the summertime of last year, correct?
Personally, sir, I don't know how you practice if you're still a lawyer, but I wouldn't basically submit anything of that nature, a court document from a Google search. I would want to get them directly from the court and certified as true and accurate copies.
Right, but you waited 9 months to get them certified, and after the letter went out of February 26, 2024, correct?
I believe that's already been established, sir.
It has.
That's
It
correct.
has. Thank you. Okay. And during that time, did anyone ever from the Racing Commission ever reach out to me and ask me to provide any additional information?
To my knowledge, I don't know. I don't know of that.
You have a copy, or did you obtain a copy of my license application that I filed with the New Mexico State Racing Commission?
Yes.
And is it not a fact that in that application, I disclosed during the questioning that I had had a felony conviction in Louisiana from 2011 in this particular case?
Yes.
And I did not hide the fact that I had that conviction when I filed this application in 2011, correct?
Yes, and nobody made, and certainly nobody from the commission has made an assertion otherwise.
Have you asked all the commissioners if they've ever made an assertion otherwise?
Sir, my communications with the commission are attorney-client privileged.
They may well be attorney-client privilege, but you just made a statement that said, that implicated that all the commissioners have never said otherwise, that I've never not disclosed this. So I just wanted to make sure I was clear. If you're waiving that privilege by making that statement, I certainly have the
Sir,
right
I
to
never
go into
stated
it.
that, sir.
The record says what
Again,
it says.
sir,
I
I
got it.
never stated anything about commissioners.
Okay. Well, your words are recorded, so we'll have that. If we need to go back to it, I'll move forward from it. Now, under NMAC 1647, well, I received this letter, and it had a bunch of different administrative authorities, general provisions, and the ground for disciplinary measures. There are numerous grounds that are listed in here to which I am not sure which ones are applied against me. So I will ask the question so that I understand exactly where I am on this hearing and what exactly is being brought against me. So I guess I'll ask you, Mr. Bustamante, under NMAC 1647 1.8 LA, it says that the commission may refuse a license to an applicant, may suspend or revoke a license or other disciplinary matters if the applicant has been convicted of a felony. So I'm here under Part A, correct?
Certainly, I would argue that that certainly applies to you since you
Okay.
have been convicted of a federal felony.
Okay. Now, the second part of that you've listed in your letter is Part E, has been found in violation of rules governing racing in this state or other jurisdictions. What rules have I been found in violation governing racing in this state or other jurisdictions?
And let's see here.
You have my ARCI report in evidence. Feel free to peruse it.
Sir, just because they're listed there doesn't necessarily mean that all of those apply to you. However, I will refer you, the stewards, to 1647 18L1. Commission may suspend or revoke an issued license in response to a licensee's background, character, or reputation.
Thank
So
you, but that didn't
basically,
answer my question.
I would respectfully submit that essentially that your past conduct basically is a violation in terms of your character and ability to basically hold a New Mexico Commission license.
Thank you for your opinion, but going back to my original question, which you have not answered, what violation of the rules of racing in this state or other jurisdictions am I accused of violating in Section E that you have listed in your letter to me, telling me that it is part of this hearing?
And I would respectfully submit that basically your past conduct is proof that you've engaged in conduct unbecoming and detrimental to the best interest of racing.
Stuart, no, I would ask you to tell Mr. Bustamante to please answer my question. I'm going to get to Section O where you'll get to make that speech, Mr. Bustamante, but in Section E is very specific. It says, has been found in violation of rules governing racing in this state or other jurisdictions. I am asking you a question because you are accusing me of a potential violation of that rule. What evidence do you have that I have been found in violation of rules governing racing in this state or other jurisdictions?
Well, first of all, it's the stewards that will make the determination and factual findings here, not me. But to answer your question, basically, I respectfully submit that essentially that your past criminal conviction is basically conduct unbecoming or detrimental to the best interests of racing. And so therefore, you, assuming that the stewards reach a decision in agreement with my position here, that you are in violation of Rule 16.47.18L10.
Okay, Mr. Bustamante, and I understand we're playing lawyer right now, and that's fun. But in terms of what I'm here for and being charged with, in a letter that is in evidence signed by you, accusing me of violating this particular statute. It's not a post thing where we find out what the stewards do and then we go back and put the ruling. The way that it works, and I'm sure you know this, is you're accused of something and then you get to argue why you're not guilty of it, not post-judgment. So in pre-judgment issues, and we all know the answer, I think it's pretty clear. Can we agree that I have not been found in violation of any rules in the state of New Mexico or other jurisdictions that you have presented any evidence to this Board of Stewards to review with respect to me?
And again, sir, my position is this is the reason for this hearing, is for the stewards, once they hear all of the evidence and argument presented, they will determine whether your past criminal conviction is basically a violation of the rules as set forth in the notice of hearing and as I've presented here today.
Can I get a yes or no question that you have any evidence that I violated a rule?
Yes,
Sure, fine, no.
exhibits 2, 3, and 4.
So you're saying it's exhibits 2, 3, and 4 that I have violated a rule in the state of New Mexico. Which rule did I violate in the state of New Mexico?
Mr. Alfortish, I'm going to make this very clear.
No, you're not, Mr. Bustamante. You're dancing around the question. We know
No,
the answer.
sir.
You have nothing there.
Honorable-
You have nothing. You have nothing. Just say you have nothing, and we'll move to the next question.
Let me
Bustamante.
just intervene. Let me just intervene here. We all heard everything right here, and we're just going in circles on this thing. We will take all this in advisement.
Okay.
So let's just go ahead and move on, because all we're doing is
Okay.
going in circles here. But we heard it all, and we'll just move on from there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fonta.
Thank you, Mr. Fonta. Okay. Moving to the next question under H, Mr. Bustamante. Where has my license been denied, suspended, or revoked by a racing jurisdiction up till today?
Again, sir, the purpose of this hearing is for the stewards to determine, based on everything they've heard today, whether your conduct, specifically your prior federal conviction, basically is in violation of 16.47.18L1.
You have no evidence that my license has ever been suspended, denied, or revoked up and through today, correct?
You know, I cannot recall whether following your federal conviction, whether you were revoked by the state of Louisiana Racing Commission. Unfortunately, I don't have that before me.
I would point the stewards to my ARCI report already in evidence that there has been none. You next state that under Section I, that my reputation may reflect on my honesty or integrity, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Bustamante, how many people have you ever licensed in the state of New Mexico and only to have a hearing subsequent to it and say that their reputation adversely affects on the honesty and integrity of horse racing?
You know, I have been involved in other disciplinary hearings regarding medication violations, and essentially it's the commission's position that yes, when a person who is in the care, custody, control of an animal drugs that animal to basically gain a competitive advantage and win money, the position is yes, that's conduct that adversely reflects on the honesty and integrity of the horse racing, and it's conduct that's unbecoming and detrimental to the best interests of racing.
Have I ever been convicted or even accused of a medication overage on any horses ever?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Did I interfere with the orderly conduct of a race meeting?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay, so that wouldn't be something that I should be here for today. Have I interfered with the orderly conduct of a race meeting, which includes but not limited to, and I'll take each one, disruptive or intemperate behavior?
I'm not sure where you're reading that from, but I have
I'm
no
reading that
knowledge
from
of that.
section I, and in your letter, that's already in
I have no knowledge of that, sir.
Okay.
And
Have I
again,
ever? Okay, well, that's fine.
please
These
proceed.
are all listed. Have I ever been of behavior which exposes others to danger anywhere on the racetrack grounds?
Not to my knowledge.
And then we've discussed section O, where you've made your statements about my conduct unbecoming or detrimental to the best interest of racing, correct? We've discussed that, right? We don't need to go
That's
through that
correct,
again,
sir.
do we? Okay, all right. In section 3 of that very same statute, NMAC 1647 1.8 L3, says any license denied, suspended, or revoked by the commission pursuant to these rules shall state the period of this effect, in its ruling, When action is taken for a misdemeanor or felony conviction, the time period shall be the period of the licensee's or application's imprisonment, or if not in prison, the period of probation deferral, unless the person can satisfy the commission of sufficient rehabilitation. This rule shall apply to licensees who voluntarily turn in their license because of or anticipation of a conviction. Mr. Bustamante, isn't it true that this rule is a rule that's specific towards a person who has a prior felony conviction?
I would agree with that.
Okay. And isn't it also true that under this particular rule, that a person who has a felony conviction, well, let me back up. Do the stewards have discretion to give a person who's been convicted of a felony a license to own horses in New Mexico?
It's my understanding, basically, it's a case-by-case determination.
It is, but they have that discretion, correct?
That is my understanding, yes.
Do the stewards have that discretion without having to consult the New Mexico Racing Commission?
My understanding is the stewards do operate independently with respect to those types of issues.
Right. So the stewards can give a license to a person convicted of a felony, even if the New Mexico Racing Commission doesn't like it, correct?
That's my understanding.
Right. And in this particular case, the stewards did, in fact, give me a license, even though I had a felony conviction, correct?
I know that basically you applied for the license, you relied on reciprocity, and then you were issued licenses. I have no direct knowledge of what level of steward involvement, if any, was occurred in that process.
Okay. Are you aware that on the date that I got my license at April 6, 2023, that I was at the offices in Sunray Park, Sunray Downs, whatever it is?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Stuart Fontenot was actually one of the stewards on that particular day where I went in and obtained that license. Are you aware that my license was provided to me that day without any objection?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Did you ever try to speak with any of the stewards as to my licensing issues?
Basically, no.
Basically, what does that mean?
It means no.
Okay, so you never communicated via text, via phone, via email, or discussed my case outside the presence of today before the stewards?
Again, sir, asked and answered.
No, I don't believe you've answered that. I asked you if you spoke with the stewards at any point other than the communication that we had on the email, whether it be by phone, by text, or anything else. I don't believe we've asked or answered that question.
I said no, sir.
You have not.
I
Do you
just
know
want
if
to cut
any?
in for 1 second. Mr. Sean, just 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I
Go
was
ahead.
there that day, but the application did not come in front of me, and my signature is not on there, so I just want to put that out there.
You're correct about that, Mr. Fontenot. But Mr.
Okay.
Fontenot, and if I can ask and make sure that we're perfectly clear with that, Pinky was the state steward that day, correct? If you recall.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I know you're the steward, so I'm not really to ask any questions, but I would like
Right.
at least have the record semi-clear for whatever purpose it is. It was yourself, it was Pinky, and I believe you may remember her name, the redhead lady who had just gotten started.
Charlie Knight.
There you go.
Okay.
And it was three of y'all. Now, to whatever extent you recall, I did go in the office. I was with Tracy Hebert. I introduced myself. You had told me you were from the Lafayette area during that time. And I did explain the circumstances of my felony conviction during that time because, as I've had to do in every other state, when I disclose it, the stewards generally ask me a minute or two about what's going on so that they can satisfy their inquiry to see if they have to do more, wait, or whatever the case was. I'm not saying that in an accusatory tone or anything else. I mean, the record is what it is. That's what occurred during that day. I was provided a license and had never heard anything again up and through February of 2024.
And just on that part there, honestly, I don't remember talking about that. I remember talking to you, but for the background and stuff, I don't remember talking about that. So
Okay,
I'll
I
just put that on
understand. I'm
record.
sure you do it. I'm sure you do it a pretty good bit. So but you don't
That's fine.
recall you don't recall anything where it sparked you to say, oh, wait a minute, I can't license this guy. I mean, because I did get a license that day, correct?
You got a license that day.
Okay,
So let's just go ahead and move on.
we are.
Hey,
We
can
are.
we, you guys mind if we just take 5 minutes real fast?
Sure.
Okay. So, let's just
You
go ahead and
want me
take
to,
5 minutes.
okay, you want me to leave it recording?
Yeah, go ahead and stop the recording. And what is it? It's 9:07. Let's just do 9:15.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, Fontenot.
Or if you guys are on there, we get back before then, we'll just wave our hands or whatever.
Are we
All
still?
right.
We're staying on, right?
Yeah, we're gonna stay on, but we're just gonna mute everything.
Okay, gotcha.
Mute it and just I guess stop the recording, Elizabeth.
Okay, we're back recording.
Okay, we are now back in the hearing. Go ahead, Mr.
Alfortish. Now you just call me
Alfortish.
Sean, Larry. It's
Yeah,
easier. That's a tough last
it's
name.
all
That's
right.
just Sean's fine. Okay,
We
thank you.
got
All right, I'm reviewing the ARCI report that was provided as an exhibit, and I would just make a notation on there. It does not appear to show my other I don't know why, but jurisdictions where I'm licensed, and I just want to make the record clear that I am licensed in the state of Louisiana, and I was in fact licensed and relicensed in the state of Louisiana, and I believe it's been at least 5 years since that. But for whatever reason, it doesn't show. I'm also licensed with the Arkansas Racing Commission. I'm licensed with the Texas Racing Commission, and those are all current in good standing. I see Kentucky was updated, but the other ones are don't appear to be on there. Oklahoma's still in current good standing. I think that's the only ones I have other than New Mexico as well. So I just wanted to make that clear that the ARCI report seems to be somewhat incomplete, and while you probably couldn't see my license because it's so bad in Louisiana. I actually have a horse in tomorrow as well. So this is for whatever purpose, if you could see that there, that is my current license in Louisiana. And it says it goes out in 25. If you can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. We're good with all
Okay.
that. Actually, seen
Okay.
our ARCI year licenses and stuff, so we're all good
Yeah.
on that. Let's
Okay. I
just go
just
ahead
wanted
if we can.
to make,
We'll just go ahead
yeah.
and move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to send over to Elizabeth, if that's okay. Elizabeth, I appreciate you sending me the emails as we're going through. I'm going to send you over right now an affidavit. Would you let me know you got it? And I'm going to explain that to the stewards, and if you wouldn't mind sharing it with them
Yeah,
when you get a moment. Thank you.
I'll email it to them and then I'll put it on the screen.
Okay, thank you so much, Elizabeth. During the course of this hearing, you heard from Mr. Bustamante with respect to my felony conviction and some of the details involving that. I am submitting to you an affidavit from an individual named Edwin Finesi. Edwin Finesi is the former, during my time, executive director of the Louisiana HBPA. He is also the current executive director of the HBPA. And the HBPA board is well aware of what I've asked them to provide. You will note in this affidavit, it directly offsets the fact that I have taken any money. And in fact, the restitution that was alluded to by Mr. Bustamante in the exhibits that are attached was actually paid for by insurance when I sued the insurance, when I had to sue the HBPA, because the accounting practices that were in place during that time, contrary to what may have been shown in that particular report, show that the medical trust was being used by the parent company. And I don't want to get too complicated, but let me explain.
Sean, give me 1 second. I got it, so I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, and I'm going to forward it to the stewards right now.
Yes, thank you. And Larry, I don't know if you guys want to read it first or you want me to just kind of go through it and explain it.
Okay, I sent it to the stewards and
Okay.
Mr. Bustamante.
Do you want me to give everyone a second to read it and go through it, or?
And investigate. Oh, okay. Thank you, Investigator Garcia.
You're welcome.
Larry, what's your pleasure on that? Do you guys want to read through it first?
We're good. You go on with it. We got it with us now, so you can
Okay.
go on with it.
All right. So in discussing what this affidavit talks about during that time, the money that is alleged to have been misplaced or misrepresented, or however it was clarified or presented to the stewards. What happened was, during that time frame, we had a medical trust company and we had a parent company. In 2008, the interest rates went down. Our money was largely brought from interest rates. We borrowed money from the medical trust fund. We had been doing that for 20 years prior to that, with the knowledge and consent of our in-house counsel, as well as the legislative auditor, who also did it, who approved what we were doing. When those interest rates fell, we lost our income during that time, so we borrowed that money. The federal government says that was health insurance fraud during the course of that time. The federal government also said, because of these ballots during the election, that it was being done to disguise that. We refuted that and said that this was transparent, this was known to everyone. The federal government said, too bad, we're coming at you. If you lose, you're getting 10 years. You take this deal, you get 2. So, being that I had an 8-year-old daughter, that's what I did. Do I regret it? Do I have problems with it? Every day of my life I do. Do I have to deal with it? Here I am 12 years later having to discuss it again. No, 13 years later having to discuss it yet again. Nevertheless, the documents are what they are. But when it comes to the money and things of that nature and all this restitution, I end up filing a lawsuit against all the parties involved because of the misrepresentations and the bad advice that was provided to us during that time. I won that lawsuit, and the monies were paid by insurance. I never paid $1 towards any of that restitution because the insurance company did, and they also settled with me, paid all my attorney's fees, and gave me damages as well back during that time. So I want, while you get one side of it based on what you either saw in Google or what you saw in anything else, this comes directly from the Louisiana HBPA, their executive director. It is being done with the knowledge of their attorney and their board, and this is what they provided to me in relation to the accusations about any money that was taken or missing. And I would ask that that be offer filed and introduced into evidence as part of this hearing for your consideration. And I believe we're on Exhibit C.
Yes, we're on C.
I would ask that that be introduced as Exhibit C.
We're good.
So I offer this in directly refuting many of the allegations that are contained in there in respect to what actually occurred during that particular time. In addition to that, although the agreement itself does state that, I was accused of knowing what was happening and not doing anything about it. But I did not realize that that was going to be part of this hearing today, so I was unable to obtain further information with that. But, his records are what they are, and it is what it is, and it has been disclosed to you at this point. Bear with me as I'm trying to wind down a few things right here. Mr. Bustamante, who initially asked for these charges to be brought against me? Is this coming from the commission?
My understanding is Mr. Pierre basically started this investigation.
I understand that. Mr. Pierre left, you told me, in the summer of 2023, correct?
Summer or fall?
So maybe around August, September 2023?
I'm not sure.
Mr. Bustamante, he left after Zia Park ended.
Okay. Thank you, Investigator Garcia.
Okay. And I think it's a fact, is it not, that I have not run or entered a horse at Sunland Park, which began in January of this year, correct?
I have no knowledge either way.
Okay. Mr. Bustamante, did someone from the Racing Commission ask this to be brought against me?
Again, sir, Arthur Pierre started this investigation, and basically any communications I have with commissioners as well as my client, they're confidential, attorney-client privileged.
So you're telling me it'd be privileged if a member of the Racing Commission told you to bring these charges against me? Is that your answer? It's privileged?
My answer is all of my communications with my clients are privileged.
So I'm making sure I'm clear. All your communications are privileged. So if someone from the Racing Commission told you to bring this charge against me, your answer is that communication would have been privileged, correct?
Asked and answered.
Okay. Mr. Bustamante, isn't it a fact that my name came up at the Racing Commission meeting in February of this past year?
I believe one of the track representatives did mention your name.
And that track representative, you believe, might have been Don Cook?
I believe so.
And that meeting where Don Cook mentioned my name, that happened to be in February, before your February 26, 2024 letter, was it not?
I believe that's the case. Mr. Fontenot, I must question the relevance of this line of questioning.
Sure, I'll answer it for you. I believe that the actions of the Racing Commission are retaliatory against me and are specifically retaliatory against me. And I'm going to delve into that just for a moment to make sure that this is not some individual prosecution because you have refused to provide me the names of any other individuals who have had a felony conviction that have been licensed or where any subsequent hearings of their license have occurred, stating to me that each one is unique. We
And
will
for
get
the
you those
record, sir,
records.
the State of New Mexico Racing Commission does not retain such records or statistical information.
Correct, but you do retain copies of their license that they apply with, correct?
I'm going to interrupt on this thing. Actually, Mr. Sean, we're just doing your part of it right here.
Yes,
Other
sir.
people don't have nothing to do with it, so let's just go on with it. I mean, this is unique. It's for you, not other people that that they're doing here.
I understand that, Larry, and I
Okay.
appreciate that. And I'm not trying to go too far down this, but I do want my record to be clear, and I have said this from the inception that this is retaliatory. That I am aware of comments that have been made that this retaliation was going
And
to
again,
take place.
sir, is this a closing argument, or are you going to continue with questioning?
I was actually answering to the objection that you do not like to go down this particular path and making sure that the stewards knew what my reasoning for going down this path was so I could continue the questioning with you. And if you want to say that your answers are all privileged each and every time, then that's your answer.
Okay, let's just go ahead and move on, please.
Okay.
I think we've got everything put out there.
Okay. During that hearing with Mr. Cook, isn't it a fact that he made comments about the signals being turned off at the racetracks?
I believe that was the case.
Did he not say that I told him that I was going to pull signals?
I believe he did say something to that effect.
He is. You're familiar with the Interstate Horse Racing Act, are you not, Mr. Bustamante?
Correct.
Do I have the power to stop a signal from coming from one state to your state?
Sir, I can't answer that. I don't know if you've been involved in any of that.
Okay. Well, you do know it comes from a horsemen's group on the Interstate Horse Racing Act from another state, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And those horsemen's groups who have stopped sending their signal to the state of New Mexico, am I a part of those horsemen's groups to your knowledge?
I have no knowledge about that.
Okay. Is it true that during that time the commission wanted to take in executive session my name as a result of Don Cook's statements? They wanted to discuss me? In that
No.
February, they did not?
Again, what is discussed in executive session cannot be discussed here.
And it's your testimony that anything that the commission may have done subsequent to that meeting, and any discussions they would have had with you, those would be privileged, as you've said, correct?
Any and all discussions I have as the attorney for the Racing Commission are privileged.
Okay. Mr. Bustamante, how many of these types of cases have you prosecuted before the stewards?
When you say these types of cases, what do you mean?
Sure. How many cases have you prosecuted in your 3 years, you told me, with the New Mexico Racing Commission? In those 3 years, how many times have you gone before the stewards on a licensing issue?
I would say maybe approximately 3 to 5 times perhaps, where I've stepped in and assisted an investigator in their presentation.
But no investigator gave a presentation in this case, did they?
Again, the investigator that laid the groundwork for this has since left.
And Ms. Garcia took his place, correct?
Ms. Garcia basically is in this hearing to assist with basically providing records or the exhibits.
So she never did any other additional investigation, correct?
That is correct.
So when the investigation of Mr. Pierre ended, you took it over, correct?
Essentially, yes.
Do you always take over investigations for Mr. Pierre? Any other ones that you've taken over?
Excuse me?
Any other ones that you've taken over?
No, I've assisted with others.
But you've not prosecuted any of those, have you?
In terms of the existing case though that Mr. Pierre had, no.
So this is the only one.
I had assisted him with one prior one.
What was that?
It was a medication positive.
Medication positive. But nothing on a license, correct?
Sir, potentially any disciplinary matter may impact a licensee's license.
I understand that. But as far as I don't have a disciplinary measure against me right now. We've established that, correct?
In terms of like a disciplinary, in terms of a drug allegation or something like that, no.
Right. And I don't have any other charge that has been brought against me, to your knowledge, since the license was given to me on April 6, 2023, right?
To my knowledge, you haven't been brought before the stewards.
Right. I don't have any medication overages. I haven't even gone to the stewards for being late to the paddock or anything like that, or improper equipment change, have I?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. But yet the Racing Commission seeks to take my license, correct?
The commission is bringing this matter before the Board of Stewards for them to make a determination whether some action should be taken against your license based on your felony conviction and the nature of that conviction.
All right. And that conviction, you said in your letter, has to do with racing, correct?
Yes, given that it involved the Louisiana Horsemen's Association.
Okay. What if the Louisiana Horsemen's Association disagrees with you with that? That it has anything to do with horse racing?
Quite frankly, given that the sole issue here is your New Mexico racing license, whatever the Louisiana Racing Commission believes is irrelevant here.
It's irrelevant to what they believe. Okay. That's your opinion, or is that a fact?
The stewards will make that ultimate determination, but I would respectfully submit that all the other areas you're licensed at and whatever the state of Louisiana Racing Commission thinks of you currently is irrelevant.
And you've never contacted Louisiana on any of this information as part of your investigation, have you?
That's correct, sir.
And isn't it true that many states offer reciprocity?
That's my understanding.
So if another jurisdiction believes I'm in good standing, you would take issue with that, correct?
From my perspective, it is totally irrelevant to this proceeding before the New Mexico Board of Stewards what any other racing jurisdiction thinks about you and whether you have licenses with them.
Okay, that's an excellent response. So then why were you so content on trying to find out what was going on in Oklahoma?
Again, sir, we wanted to get the background check from Oklahoma that they had run when you were licensed with them.
But it really didn't matter what they said, according to what you just told me, as long as, because you didn't have any relevance to what another jurisdiction believes, correct? So it really didn't matter.
Again, sir, the only issue of relevance here is whether you should retain your New Mexico racing license, and the Board of Stewards ultimately make that decision.
And the Board of Stewards are free to do whatever they want, irrespective of what the Racing Commission believes, are they not?
The Board of Stewards basically is an independent decision-making body.
You don't tell them how to rule, do you?
No.
Unfortunately, and I'm going to leave it at this point here, Larry, if that's okay. Because I still didn't understand what the serious concerns are, even prior to this, I did not gain additional evidence besides what you have already on this with respect to a felony conviction. But let me ask one more question, and I'm going to try to start wrapping up to get towards the end of this, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I could ask this to Mr. Bustamante, or I could ask it to Ms. Elizabeth Garcia. Under New Mexico's license application, how far back do you currently ask an individual to disclose if they have a prior misdemeanor or felony conviction?
I believe it's a 10-year time frame.
All right. If I were to tell you 12, would that be okay?
Investigator Garcia, is it 12 years?
I believe it's 12 years on the application.
Okay, my apologies, 12 years.
No, that's okay. I wasn't trying to trick you with that. I was just trying to establish it. It's 12 years for a prior conviction. So if I applied for a license today, it's a fact, is it not? I would not have even had to disclose this prior felony conviction, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding. If it was older than 12.
No, and just from, and again, I'm not trying to trick you with this in any way, Mr. Bustamante. I'm just trying to establish it.
And sir,
exhibit.
Nobody is accusing you of trying to trick me.
No, I'm not saying I am. I'm just trying to explain. I'm asking the question that in the documents that you've submitted, the felony conviction date is 8/31/2011, and we are currently in 2024. So quick shot of the math, it's more than 13 years. So I would not have even had to disclose that if I walked into New Mexico today, correct?
Based on the 12 years, that seems to be correct.
Okay. So if I applied for a new license today, of course, as we're saying, this wouldn't even come up in this particular, in my particular application. All right. Sure, fine. No, I don't think I have anything more at this particular juncture. We can close it out to however you'd like to conclude.
Do you want to go ahead and do your closing statement, then we'll go to Mr. Bustamante?
Well, I believe the burden of proof is on Mr. Bustamante, according to NMAC, who has to put, so he would go first.
Okay, that's fine. Richard, would you like to go ahead and do your closing argument?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable stewards, I appreciate you being here. Mr. Alfortish, you as well, and Investigator Garcia. Honorable stewards, obviously, you have the tough job about making tough decisions that impact an individual's license and their ability to continue to practice in the profession that they've chosen. And it's a serious authority, and I know that you take it very seriously, so I appreciate the time here. Now, let me clarify some things. First of all, let me go over again that a license by the New Mexico Racing Commission is a privilege. It's not a right. The licensee is entitled to due process, and therefore Mr. Alfortish was provided with a notice of hearing, which laid out all of the potential applicable law, as well as the basis for the hearing, concerns about his federal court conviction that was directly related to the horse racing industry in Louisiana. Mr. Alfortish has said many times, well, he's just wondering what are the serious concerns here? And please allow me to address that. First of all, let me state to you again that, with all due respect, the status of Mr. Alfortish's licenses in other jurisdictions is irrelevant to this proceeding. The only question here is his New Mexico Racing Commission license. Obviously, with respect to all of the evidence presented here before you, documentary evidence, as well as the testimony, you determine what weight and effect, if any, to place on that. And I will respectfully remind the stewards that Exhibits 2, 3, and 4 are certified true copies from the federal court. Mr. Alfortish asked several times, what are the serious concerns here and what rules have I broken? And let me respectfully submit and call the steward's attention to Rule 16-47-1-8L1. And basically, as you read this rule, it's clear from the reading of the rule that it's not required that the licensee basically violate all of those sub-provisions. It's just one or more. So let's review them. Well, let me backtrack and discuss Mr. Alfortish's federal court conviction. He did provide some explanation regarding the court-ordered reimbursement, but what he left unanswered was the fact that essentially he conspired with other individuals to rig an election of an organization related to horse racing, the Louisiana Horsemen's Association, of which he was the president of. And stewards, I know you have dealt with other licensees with criminal backgrounds, things of that nature. But let me, first of all, again, every case is different. This was not a crime of passion. This was not something that occurred on the spur of the moment. This was a systematic, organized crime that involved interstate trafficking, misuse of other persons' social security numbers, all designed to basically rig an election for the Louisiana Horsemen's Association. So this wasn't a crime against, a loved one or a family member. Those are all very serious. This was a crime against the very organization, horse racing related, to which he was the president. Moreover, during this time, Mr. Alfortish was an attorney, subject to the rules of ethics, as all attorneys are, and well-versed in the law. So the fact that with his legal knowledge and legal license, that he engaged in this multi-state conspiracy to defraud the organization that he led is a very, very serious concern as to whether he should be able to have the privilege of a New Mexico racing license. So, under Rule 16-47-1-8L1, I respectfully submit that Mr. Alfortish's criminal conduct, and again, there is no prohibition against the commission considering convictions older than the 12-year-old cutoff. There's no authority that limits that. Section O of Rule 1647-8-1L has engaged in conduct unbecoming or detrimental to the best interests of racing. When Mr. Alfortish engaged in a systematic, multi-state conspiracy to defraud a horse racing organization he led, I respectfully submit that it is clear that that is conduct unbecoming or detrimental to the best interests of racing. Subsection I of that rule is a person whose conduct or reputation may adversely reflect on the honesty and integrity of horse racing. Again, what other jurisdictions think of Mr. Alfortish is not of concern here. When Mr. Alfortish engaged in a multi-state conspiracy, misusing social security numbers to rig an election relating to horse racing organization he led, I respectfully submit that that is clearly evidence of a person whose conduct or reputation may adversely reflect on the honesty and integrity of horse racing. Subsection O, A, has been convicted of a felony. As we have stated here with documentary evidence, as well as Mr. Alfortish's own testimony, he clearly has been convicted of a federal court felony, and there's no prohibition against considering something older than 12 years old. So, gentlemen, let me again state that New Mexico racing license is a privilege, not a right. Unlike, there's no indication in any of the court documents that I've submitted here that maybe there was some substance abuse or addiction issues that might have been an explanation for these crimes, not an excuse. And again, when Mr. Alfortish engaged in this conspiracy, he was an attorney, subject to the rules of ethics, subject to following the law, and he was the president of a horse-relating organization that essentially he sought to defraud just to win an election. Honorable stewards, again, a license is a privilege, not a right. When Mr. Alfortish has engaged in serious interstate crime that literally injured a horse-related organization that he led, the commission respectfully submits that we have provided ample evidence that you can act within your authority because the rules do allow you to suspend or revoke a license. This is not arbitrary or capricious because essentially this is based on facts, the federal conviction. Each case is individual and different, so you can't compare how the commission has handled one other individual with a felony conviction versus Mr. Alfortish. Rather, this is a reasoned decision, or what we ask for is that you would revoke Mr. Alfortish's license. There is ample support in the record for it. It is not an arbitrary or capricious decision because the nature of his federal court conviction is directly tied to the horse racing industry. Now, Mr. Alfortish he's stated here things that apparently he's in good standing with folks all over the country and things of that nature. I would ask you to ask yourselves, when he was running for the presidency of this organization, while at the same time he was rigging the election, Mr. Alfortish probably said similar things, touting himself to the horsemen that were going to be voting for him. And look how that turned out. Bottom line is he showed his character by basically positioning himself or promoting himself as worthy of re-election, while at the same time he was working in a conspiracy, multi-state, to defraud that organization and its members and rig an election. Why should a person like that be allowed to continue with a state of New Mexico Racing Commission license? We respectfully ask that after consideration of all the evidence that's relevant here, that you would take action to revoke Mr. Alfortish's license. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard. Sean, do you want to go ahead and do your closing?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Well, again, stewards, thank you for your time. I know that this is probably an inordinately long type of hearing based on a license, so I appreciate the time, and I know that you've been listening closely and taking notes throughout the course of it, so I do appreciate that from you guys. To start off with, I cannot run from the fact that I have a felony conviction. It is what it is. It states what it states. I've lived with it, dealt with it, and had to deal with it every day of my life. We're talking about something that happened in 2008 that I'm still dealing with here in 2024. 16 years later, I'm still dealing with it. To listen to Mr. Bustamante's closing, it's clear that no investigation was ever done into what really occurred during this particular time, and maybe they didn't care. I will tell you, the timing of this, it's not questionable, it's intentional. The timing of this only stems from the fact that I am a member of the New Mexico Horsemen's Association, an elected member. Again, despite this felony conviction, the people of New Mexico had enough confidence in me to place me onto not only their backside committee, but their state board. This stems from an argument that is ongoing between the Racing Commission and the Horsemen's Group over signals. It is 100% retaliatory and trying to place you right in the middle as a shield between the battle that is occurring in federal court as we speak, as well as other state courts. That's what this is really all about. And the question is whether or not to take me out, because I'm smart enough to know that horsemen deserve better than what they've gotten. Now, with that being said, let's go back and talk about the felony conviction. Number one, while Mr. Bustamante makes all these comments without any facts about what I may have told and how I was reelected, et cetera, I didn't have to be involved in any participation. I won re-election with only over 90% of the vote. That's a fact. Fact number two, the federal government will state that if somebody had called them, that the ballots that were in question did not affect the outcome of the election. That's number two. Number three, that conviction occurred the day before a trial that was supposed to go on when the co-defendants decided that they were cooked and they decided they were going to say, I knew what they did. I don't know if any of you have ever been involved with the federal government, the most strongest and most powerful organization in the United States, but when they take you on, they break you. So at the end of the day, I pled, and that's on me, and I have to live with that. I deal with that every day, including today. I didn't want to come out of basically just training horses, but I did. And this is what I face as a result of it. I have never had a single infraction placed upon me. I have dealt with horses, I have trained horses, I have owned horses, and I have done so with the highest of integrity. I have yes, sir, no, sir. I have been in front of Mr. Fontenot, and I have been nothing but courteous. I've never been disrespectful. I am still hired as a consultant throughout the country to deal with issues that occur in racing, despite full knowledge of my federal conviction. In the state of Louisiana, where this occurred, again, the lack of investigation and half doing an investigation, just run, disclose that everywhere. I am currently licensed, I believe, in 6 jurisdictions as I speak. Every single jurisdiction is well aware of this felony conviction and the circumstances surrounding it. It wasn't some private conviction. It was known well throughout the course of the country when it happened, including in New Mexico. That was not some new thing that occurred. When you put your name out there as a trainer, your name is everywhere. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows what you're doing. And, I've cared for my horses. I've never had anything detrimental with that, with respect to it, ever. As far as, the remaining portion of it is, I've provided an affidavit to you from the Louisiana HBPA, from the very organization to where all these allegations were made. And it's clear in that affidavit why it went there. That was because of faulty advice at the end of the day. That's why I won the civil lawsuit. Who loses a criminal case and wins the civil lawsuit? I did. That wasn't part of the record. Nobody checked that. Nobody from this investigation, whether it be Mr. Pierre or Mr. Bustamante, ever picked up the phone and called Louisiana HBPA. And I could have gave you the number. It's on the Google search. And asked them what actually happened over here so we can kind of get an idea as to what went on. No. What happened was at a meeting in February, comments were made about me that were untrue, and they immediately took this action. In fact, it's funny because if you look at the letters that I gave to you, it's dated February 26 about the serious concerns about records that they didn't even get yet and didn't get until the next month in March. So their concerns are nothing more than a front to hide the true intent. I'm sorry, was somebody? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought somebody was saying something.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking a question or something. I apologize. I have broken no rules. I have broken no rules in the state of New Mexico. I have paid all my bills. There is nothing that's owed. I have not brought any dispute or disrespect to the Horsemen. I have acted with the utmost, confidence. I have acted with the utmost, conduct, and I go through. What Mr. Bustamante and the New Mexico Racing Commission would like to do is they would like to give me a life sentence. They would like to exclude me for life. And the clear statement is, you can say it's horse racing related, but you have an ARCI report that clearly shows you that it is not horse racing related. The people that the reason that HISA is even around is not because of people like me. It's because of people that do things improperly and illegally with horses, drug horses, abuse horses, and do things of those natures. I'm not the guy on HISA's radar. In fact, and the evidence will show, I actually helped and assisted the Downs at Albuquerque, specifically Don Cook, in helping him to get a veterinarian over at from HISA to get some provisions taken off. Unfortunately, he forgot about that when he was talking about that during the hearing. And he forgot about the phone calls, the texts, and everything else, instead saying he doesn't even really know who I am and only met me once. But that's an argument for another day. That's not for today. The actions are clearly and unequivocally retaliatory in nature. We can hide behind them, but that is the truth. You are an independent body. You're an independent body of stewards. I have been on the racetrack since I was 5 years old and started with Jack Van Berg and Frank Brothers and all these other guys. And I have learned nothing but respect for stewards throughout the course. As a horseman, I put all of my trust in stewards. You make the call on whether a horse has interfered with somebody or anything else. My reputation with stewards throughout the course of the country has been nothing short of stellar. I still continue every day. And 10 years from now, when I don't have to disclose this and all I have to put is on record as I do now, I'm still going to have to deal with these issues. So whether anything adverse happens here today or not, that's not the issue. But I will tell you, everyone's watching. Everyone knows what's going on here today, and everyone in the country is abreast of the issues that are being retaliated against me. And I stand before the stewards with my hope that you use your independent judgment on this, because I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong since I've gotten my license back. I've done nothing wrong since I've gotten my license in the state of New Mexico since April 6, 2023. Zero. No medications, no issues, no anything. There's no reason to take my license other than to try to stop me from helping the Horsemen with respect to the actions that are occurring with the New Mexico State Racing Commission that are well documented in federal court. This stems from the signals that other horsemen's groups are pulling from New Mexico because they don't like the way the Racing Commission is treating the horsemen in the state of New Mexico. That is the bottom line. That's really why we're here. And their intention is to try to take me down from trying to advise the horsemen what might be in their best interest. Mr. Bustamante is not going to say that. We're going to hide behind, I'm a convicted felon. And I am. Here I am. I sit here before you with that felony conviction from events that occurred back in 2008. But I can assure you, no investigation was done. And any investigation that was done, the Racing Commission knew of this well back in last year, literally after I had gotten my license. And as he said, their investigator was looking at it. All this information he provided to you today, they've had it. They've been sitting on it. Every jurisdiction has it. It's not hard to find by just typing my name and running it and finding whatever articles are out there. I stopped fighting it years ago. It is what it is. I accept it. I disclose it. Be whatever it is. But no jurisdiction has ever come back and said, because you have that, that it's involved in horse racing. You would be the first one to do that. Which, we're talking Kentucky, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and wherever else I'm licensed at that I can't recall off the top of my head. It might be in Delaware and Florida too. But, I've raced everywhere. No one has ever had an issue with this or issue with a license. You're not walking in as the first. In fact, I think New Mexico is no, I take that back. Arkansas is the last one to do it, but New Mexico is the second to last one in all the licenses that I have. I own and train horses. I own them. I train them for other people. I'm the one who's been retaliated against from the get-go. Riadoso took away my stalls because of my involvement with the Horse Racing Association. Zia Park refused to give me stalls as a result of my dealings with the Horsemen's Association. You all know my record. You've seen it in New Mexico. I do well. I win races out there. But the Horsemen have no problem with me. No one has a problem with me. The commission has a problem with me. You're the stewards. You're the stewards. I implore you. I mean, I beg of you to use your independence. No one in the state of New Mexico that I'm aware of has ever had a felony conviction this old come up in a hearing to take their license with this much fanfare associated with it. And I can assure you, if I weren't on the board of directors, that would still be the case. Boards of directors on our board now are being so discriminated against and so retaliated against that they've had to quit the board just to get stalls at racetracks. It's bad. It's bad. And I can assure you, it is not going to stop until someone stops it. And that's my crime. My crime is defending the Horsemen. That's really why we're here today. Everything else is a farce. And I will call it the way I see it, the way it is. And any of you gentlemen who know what's going on know exactly what's happening here. And I ask you to stand up and be the stewards. Be the stewards, be the people that all of us horsemen rely upon to be the unfair, unbiased judges, and allow me to continue in my license. I'm not even there right now, and I'm not coming there until the climate has changed. But taking my license away, the only thing it does is it serves a retaliatory purpose. It does not serve the purpose of the best interest of racing. That being said, I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I just want to thank everybody for being professional and everything on this whole deal here. So we are going to take all this under deliberation, and we will get back to you. I don't know how long this is going to take, but we will be talking about it. And as of now, I'm going to go ahead and say this hearing is over.
All right.
Well,
Larry,
Larry,
thank you guys.
one quick
Yeah.
question. Sean, can we get an updated phone number for you just to make sure we're good?
It's still the same one as on the ARCI, Elizabeth.
Okay.
275-9181.
9 what?
9181, area code 504. That's still,
Okay.
Isn't that on ARCI?
Just so we have it on record that we have that number.
You do. Yeah, it should be on my application. It hasn't changed.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And the email is still the same, right?
Yeah, I reached out to him today with that.
Elizabeth and I have been texting. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.